Oh, hello, everybody. Hi. Good evening. In those difficult times, we meet, and this meeting came out of someone in Israel actually last week asking me to do some kind of a Zoom meeting for people in Israel that are, the ground dropped under their feet. Um, And I said, what can I say that is not said? And I'm not in Israel. I'm not in the situation, even though my family is. But then she said, no, still you probably have something to say that will be meaningful. And then I was just like, I did the thing that I do. I look like, okay, what am I dealing with actually in my life now? Probably it has to do with something that I'm dealing with in my life. And then I realized that actually, yes, what I'm dealing with in my own life is how to meet difficult, rough parts of life, um, how to meet it from a place that is not leaving me traumatized. I'm going through, some of the last year and a half is very difficult for me, and easily I could be really hurt to the degree that I will feel like, fuck, I'm traumatized from, everything that's happening to me. And when I realized that I'm going through really tough time, but I actually don't want to be traumatized. Like, it's not like my, not my intention in life is to leave myself wounded in that way. So I was like, okay, what's actually happening here? Because I also, beyond behind and beyond and underneath everything, I'm a believer. I don't know how to call it. I'm a religious person that doesn't belong to one religion or to any religion, but to the connection with the divine. And I looked at my life and said, like, well, there are ways that I can relate to what's happening to me, not as traumatic experiences, but actually as initiations that I'm going through. And this was supported by some article that I read long ago that actually compares between trauma and initiation. And when I went deeper into that, I went look for this article, found the guy that wrote this article, and started to learn deeper and also work with myself. So last week I basically offered, humbly, really humbly, to my friends in Israel and Palestine. Actually, there were two Palestinians on the call. It was just a Hebrew one. Humbly offering, like, I don't know if it works for you, but this is what I found about my own process. This is how it works for me. And if it has any validity to you, if you can do anything with this, I'm happy to share with you. And um, to my big surprise, because when you're dealing with your own life, you think, well, it's my own life. So I didn't realize that what I'm going through is actually meaningful for many people, and especially all those people in Israel Palestine that are now really going through a lot. Um, so to my big surprise, people responded to this call. The call was flooded with people, and afterwards, many responses to me, and many people asking for the recording and wanting to hear it again. So I realized, okay, maybe it is meaningful, and maybe I will offer it to the English speaking group as well. And here we are. All this was just to say, I'm not coming from a place of like, you know, preaching to anything. I'm not coming to say, this is what people should do. The opposite, like what I'm going to speak about might be very, very difficult for some people, and that's okay. And it makes total sense. If it's too difficult, too challenging, that's totally okay. People who are going through um, traumatizing experiences that can traumatize a person, um, many times they're not open, they're not free, it's not relevant for them to look at the perspective that I'm going to offer. And that's totally, totally okay. I want to say it really clearly. I'm not coming to say, that anyone needs to do anything else. I'm more sharing with you things that work for me, things that are meaningful for me, and that might be meaningful for you guys, for anyone in their own life. So apologies if anything that I'm going to say is going to trigger you, is going to be stepping on someone's toes, or putting some salt on wounds or anything like that. I'm really, really, this is not my intention. And I apologize in advance if it hurts. I totally understand that it might hurt. So the beautiful and interesting thing that I found in that article that I read from this psychotherapist, Francis Weller from California, who's working for more than 40 years in this field. And he said, in a very wise way, trauma and initiation have three things in common. The main things that are happening to a person while going through trauma are happening as well to a person while going through initiation. And it's a slight difference between this and that. So let's look what are they. The three things that are the characteristic of events that can be creating trauma is, the first thing is there is a and I'm using his words, there is a severing, a cut, a complete cut from the life that has been before the event. From the world that was available for you before the event, from the world view. If someone that I know that his brother was murdered in the party, in the dance party in Israel, wrote actually this in his post. He wrote, "I cannot even remember how it was to be before October 7th. And anything that I remember, I actually see it now from the perspective of the trauma. Like there is a complete disconnect from anything that has been before. The world that has been before is not anymore your world." That's the first thing. The second thing is a fundamental alteration of identity. The identity, the I, who am I, is altering, is changing. Like the I that has been before is not anymore here. And at the beginning, in the process, you actually don't know who's who am I? I actually don't know, because everything that was creating my world is irrelevant anymore. I can't connect to the world. And as we know, we create our identity in a relationship with the world, in some kind of a dialogue with the world. So the world that I knew disappeared, and with it, the identity disappeared. I don't know who I am anymore. And the third thing is the realization, the painful realization that I cannot go back to the world that has been before. I cannot go back to my life. There's no way back. There's no way back. Now, the difference between trauma and initiation, that when you experience those things in a traumatic way, you wish there was a way back. You wish there was a way back to the world that has been before, to the I, the identity that has been before. But there isn't. And this is like a rupture. This is a tear. This is an open wound. This is something that is horrible. In an initiation process, you don't want to go back. You say yes to the process. As difficult as it still is difficult. But when you're in an initiation process, you know that you are growing up, and you agree to that. You know that you are in a path of becoming more and more ripe, and you want that. You know that the process of initiation is allowing your soul to land deeper into your body, to embody more of your soul. And you want that, even though it is difficult. So it's not that there is nothing not difficult in initiation ceremonies. It's just like the perspective that we look at it is not like, I wish I could go back. And this is what I actually realized about myself. Like some weeks ago, I told my partner, Katara, I told her, honestly, yeah, I mean, it's been really fucking difficult this year. Like some of you are close to me and you know it's been really, really hard. And I wouldn't want to go back. I don't want to be the person that I've been before, because I've learned so much and I'm still learning. I've learned so much through this. I grew up so much. I matured so much. So many things that I didn't know before about myself, about my life, about my blind spots. So many things became clear to me, and yes, it's fucking painful. It is fucking painful to see, you know, fuck, I had those blind spots. But hey, do I want to continue have the blind spots and even be blind about the fact that I had those blind spots? No. I want to wake up. I want to wake up. And waking up is not sometimes, you know, can be painful. So in an initiation process, you say yes to the process. In a simple way, in an initiation process, you say yes to the process, as painful as it is. And in a traumatic process, you basically say no. You keep saying no. You keep resisting it and saying no to the process. And in the words of this guy, this wise man, Francis Weller, he said, and when, you're not taking what's happening to you the difficulty is the loss, whether it's a loss of a relationship, you know, a divorce, or a death of someone who's close to you, or you know, you lost your job, you lost your home, you lost whatever loss there is. When you don't take it as an initiation, he says, what a waste. What a waste of an opportunity to grow up. Like, why would you waste a divorce? Why would you waste a divorce? That's like, why would you waste an opportunity to initiate yourself and just take it as something horrible happened to you? So the thing is that in, you know, the recognition of trauma is kind of quite new in psychology, in human psychology. Like, really, it's a new thing in the field of psychology. And the recognition of how traumatized everybody is new. But we tend to think that, oh, people were always traumatized, but we just didn't know about it. But I actually want to challenge this thought, because in ancient times, you know, life sucked. You know, there was more children died than today just from illnesses. People lived shorter lives. There was so much death and destruction in ancient times. But ancient traditions and ancient cultures had ceremonies, had tribal ceremonies that, in their way, basically took care of the traumatic events of the individual and the community. Part of the wisdom of tribal ceremonies is that through this ceremony, everybody in the community could go through their difficulties, and everybody has their own battle. Everybody, each of us, has their own battle and their own difficulties. And any good tradition on the world, as Jamie Wills says in his beautiful book, Recapture the Rapture, has three things in it. One is, they are called ecstasis, catharsis, and communitas. When you have those three things, the culture that you live in is kind of giving the people what they need. So what do we need as people? We need ecstatic events. We need ecstatic opportunities to get ecstatic, to dance, to make love, to celebrate life, to get out of ourselves. This is the meaning of ecstasy. It's in Greek, it's ekstatis. It's like, it's standing out of yourself. It's getting out of your own being, getting out of your own stand as you. Ecstasy is when you're allowing yourself to go beyond yourself. You actually finally can forget yourself. You forget yourself into a dance, or into creativity, or into lovemaking, or into nature. Anything that is really ecstatic is when you for a minute, for some minutes, for hours, whatever it is, you forget yourself. Catharsis is processes that are cleansing us from toxicity, whether it's emotional toxicity, thoughts toxicity, or physical toxicity. So it can be fasting of all kinds, cleansing of all kinds, and what, you know, many of us have done Easter on this screen, So practices that involve emotional release, moving the body, allowing ourselves to cry, to be angry, to move those and to move emotions in cathartic ways, meaning healing ourselves, cleansing our system, and by this building our power, because when our body is cleansed, our body is more powerful. When our soul is cleansed, when our psyche is cleansed, well, it feels clean and lighter. So ecstasis, catharsis, and communitas. Communitas meaning the feeling of community, the feeling that you are not alone. One of the things that people who are exploring trauma today is like one of the big things that create trauma is that you are left alone with the pain. This is part of the study of trauma, which I kind of went deeper into this the last year, is that as someone who just something difficult happened to you, but you're feeling that you're alone. One of the big things that can heal us is just the feeling that we're not alone in the pain. Even if the pain continues, but feeling that someone is with us, someone is feeling our pain, or just being with us, sitting with us as we are in this pain, that we are not alienated, we are not separated. There was a time in my process that I actually, the voice in my head said, I'm probably alienated from human society, and this is a sign of traumatic experience. Like, there's no way for you to, you're alone, you're utterly alone. Like, the loneliness of pain. So the feeling of community is so important, and a community that is wise, as our tribal wisdom was, and we're talking here not about 1,000 years ago, we're talking 50,000 years ago, 100,000 years ago. We're talking about really what we call primitive societies. Our primitive wisdom was tribal wisdom, a wisdom that had a lot of community and feeling that you're part of the tribe, and the whole tribe in certain events, and this doesn't matter when, each tribe had it according to the seasons and the moon and the sun and the harvest and whatever, or the death of the king or whatever it is, doesn't matter when you do it, but had those ceremonies where there was ecstasies, and there was catharsis. And so in the catharsis, people could also go and mourn and grieve. Like, I'm coming, and some of us are coming from the Jewish tradition. So in the Jewish tradition, you have those days of grief in the middle of the summer that are 3 weeks that are dedicated for national grief. And of course, some people take it just to the national thing, but in the mystic tradition, these are days to look at everything that is dying in you, and just like through the national grief for the whatever destruction of the temple, the wisdom was, what is your temple that is destructed? Not the physical temple. What is the temple in my heart that was falling down, that I want to grieve for? So at least once a year, you have time for grief, and really relating to the end of things. And in Hebrew also, which is a shamanic language, the summer, this is happening in summer, and summer is called kites, which comes from kets. It's end. It's the end of things. Summer in our area is the end of the, everything that was so promising in the spring, all the green becomes dead and yellow, and everything dry, and all the springs are drying, and everything is drying until the first rain that will start the cycle again. So it's the ending. Sometimes it was the ending of, literally, the ending of a water system, the ending of life in the summer. So then they put the grieving rituals, the yearly grieving rituals, and there are little grieving rituals spread over the year as well. And this is just like, in my Jewish tradition, but I'm sure that, every religion has it in their own way, and definitely before religions, just tribal cultures. But what happened in the last 200 years with modernization is that we lost the connection. We lost the connection to community, moving to cities, to towns, the industrial area, the industrial era. People move to towns, you don't know your neighbors, you're not connected, you lost the feeling of community. There is no community that will celebrate together with you. There's no community that will hold you through a crisis time. So if you're going through trauma, or let's put it like that, if you're going through events that are really, really fucking difficult, more chances you'll be traumatized. Because there isn't a container of a community and tribe that will hold you through that. And in ancient times, the tribal wisdom was that there was a container, even though when as an individual, my container might break up, but I'm held in a bigger container. And the bigger container is the tribe. And this tribe had elders, which means there are people who went through this before me. If you're going through whatever, if you're going through a divorce, to go through that alone can be a bitch. But when you're held just by, friends who went through this before, and imagine that it wasn't just like for them a traumatizing event. It was like something that they grew up from. They actually learned a lot. They became more soft. They became more ripe. They became more compassionate through that. So if those people, the elders who've gone through that, or divorce, but it can also be just childbirth, actually, as well. All of us, when you give birth to a child, it's also a death, especially the first child. It's the death sentence of the free being that you've been before. The one that had no one to take care of is no longer there. Once you have a child, forever and ever, you are committed to this other human being. And at the same time that you are celebrating the birth of your child, there's also a death there. And some people go into depression. The relationship changes. The sexuality in the relationship many times changes. Everything is changing, and our society is not giving enough recognition and wisdom to that. But imagine that you were held as a young couple, you were held in a container of a tribe, a community, and elders, elder women, elder men that would hold you, sit with you. You're a man, they would take you out, sit with you around the fire, maybe, and will hold you as you're going through this huge shift in your life. will allow you to explore the unspoken, explore the shadows. Yes, everybody is happy because you have a child, but hey, let's speak the truth. There is also grief there. Your girlfriend is not anymore your sexy girlfriend. She's a mother to a baby. And it's a whole different relationship. Yourself, you're not free anymore to do what you wanted. There's things to grieve. And let's express it and let's explore the shadow, the unspoken. And the elders are holding you in a container. And this is what our ancestors knew. And I want to suggest a thought that maybe the rise of the consciousness around trauma is really connected to that. It's not that we just like found out that there is trauma in the world. There is more trauma because in ancient times, the same events were not experienced as traumatic maybe because they were held within a container of a tribe and initiation rituals. So when you had your child, you were initiated to motherhood and fatherhood. When your parent died, you were initiated to becoming the person who is, the last generation alive. By being an orphan, you're an orphan now. And yes, this is a tough initiation. Everything that's happening to us is inviting us to be initiated to a deeper layer of our soul. Or as this wise man Francis Weller says, your soul is not giving up on you. Your soul is not giving up on you and will give you and will offer you opportunities after opportunities to be initiated. Yes, some of them will be really fucking hard. Some of them are not, some of them are like, some initiations are through celebration. You fall in love. It's also an initiation, you fall in love and you're like, some of them are just like sweet, but we usually don't have problems with that. We have problems with these that are bitter. But your soul is not giving up on you and your soul will continue. And this is what we know for sure. We all are going to lose a lot in our lives. You're going to lose your youth if you didn't yet. You're going to lose people that are dear to you, friends, family. You're going to lose things that give you a feeling of security. Your job, your finances, your country, whatever. For people in Israel, this was one of the biggest losses now in October 7th, which is still shocking for people. It's like, where was the army? How could this happen? Like the feeling that our army is strong and will, respond within 3 minutes. And, no, it took them 8 hours to come. And in these 8 hours, 1,500 Israelis, children, women, old, young, babies were brutally murdered. It's not only the brutal murder that moves the people, it's also the loss of the feeling of we're safe. We have the best army. Like, where was it? The mechanism that was supposed to hold me was lost. And the feeling of this loss, as I spoke with some people, including in my family, actually, this loss is like really the ground under their feet dropped away. And yeah, this is going to happen to all of us in different ways. It is promised that we're going to experience losses and pain. And it's not a mistake. We are here, we are born into a world that will present us with a series of losses. The way I look at the world is that we come here to learn how to love deeply, like how to connect deeply, and how to lose everything that we connect to. Like there's nothing that you will not lose. Eventually, in our death, if our beloveds didn't die to us, we will die to them. Very rarely, we all die together. And that happened to some families in October 7th. They all died together. But learning how to bear the pain of losing everything that is important for you, including your own body, including your health, including your beauty, including your finances, including your security, in every fucking thing that you hold on to, you will lose. And can we learn how to lose it with an open heart? Can we learn how to bear losses in a way that will not make us more bitter and closed up and resentful to life? Our soul is giving us these experiences so they break us open. So our heart is broken open. And how do you know if it's broken open? You know because there's more compassion. When you're open, you're more compassionate. You're less arrogant. Like I look at myself of a year ago and I was like, part of the reason I don't want to go back is like, oh wow, fuck, I didn't even know how arrogant I was. Like, so probably I am still now, and maybe I will be initiated more. But yeah, we become whatever experience we have can help us to become more humble, more real, more open, more compassionate, more loving as a result to ourselves and to the world. And in some ways, even with more humor, this specific humor that old people have. It's like those wrinkles of laughter of people who actually had a difficult life sometimes. But these are wrinkles that are earned through initiation. That's why I don't know you, but I love to look at people that have those wrinkles. You can see those wrinkles in faces of old people who are wise, and they have this compassionate wisdom, and they have this humor towards life because they were initiated through their suffering, through their pain. So if the events themselves can be traumatic or can be opportunities for initiation, what do we need? I mean, this is still a question that I'm still in the inquiry. I'm kind of sharing with you from the middle of my inquiry. What do we need in order to move from trauma to initiation? Of course, it is easier. Clearly, it is easier when to bend metal when the metal is hot. So when the process is happening, when you're still in the fire, that's the best time to change to work on yourself, so it will crystallize in you as an initiation and not as a trauma. But I also want to look at, like, can we do it retroactively? Can we take traumas that we had in the past And what do we need in order to transform ourselves around it and take our traumas from the past, whatever it was, and reinitiate ourselves through the process? And this is a big inquiry for me. And I'm inviting you to look at this as well. And afterwards, if you have some wisdom to contribute, I'll be really happy to learn from you. Even after, if if some idea comes, just write to me. But two things that I found that I think are really meaningful are, I call them soul curriculum and soul consent. For me, in my own language, this is the masculine and feminine of the soul. This is like an inner sacred union. The masculine part of the soul has a curriculum, meaning our soul wants us to learn certain things. Our soul wants us to go through certain experiences, so we learn and we initiate. And like our soul is giving us a curriculum, like you need to learn this and that. So whatever, if you need to learn the lessons of parenthood, you will become a parent. If you need to learn the lesson of not succeeding to have children, you will go through that. Your soul is paving the road of suffering, of pain, the specific pains, the specific challenges in everything, in your relationship. Do you need to learn the pains of monogamy, or do you need to learn the pains of polyamory? It's like, whatever you need, your soul is probably going to give you the opportunities. And then the soul consent. I see it as the feminine part. It's the consent not of the personality, but the consent of the soul. I can give an example for this. When you take yourself to something that is painful, like to the dentist, you take your body, put it in a chair, and have someone drill in your jaw. It's fucking painful. But you do it, and you even pay this person. The body wants to run away. When someone's like opening your jaw and starting to, like, the body wants to kick them, fight and flight. Your body wants to kick them and run away. But the mind, the personality, gives consent. So like, no, I give you the permission to cause me pain, because I know this pain is good for me. It's going to heal my cavity. And we do that all the time. We do that with the dentist. We do that even with a very painful massage, like a deep tissue massage. And you even tell your friends, like, oh, it was so painful, you should try it too. It's like it's painful for the body, but there's another part of us that is giving consent. So now if we go one floor above, we can also say, like, yeah, sometimes there are certain experiences that can be painful for the personality. The personality will be the one that will say, like, I want to kick and scream and run away from here because I'm suffering. But the soul is giving consent. The soul is saying, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with this pain, with this emotional pain. I'm okay with you going through loss and grief and fear, because this is part of our curriculum. So if we can connect to that part of in us, if we can connect to this part of us, if we can live the life of our soul, and this is what I found with myself some months ago. I felt like I said to people around me, it's like, I'm going through hell, but I give consent. It's my soul giving consent. It's like, yeah, it's like my personality. No, I don't like what's happening. It's like, it's fucking horrible to my personality, but I can feel inside, I can feel the part of me that says like, that gives like thumbs up, like, yeah, good. Can even say to the people who are, I'm kind of going through what you can describe as kind of a witch hunt. So can even give kind of a thumbs up behind the scenes to those people who are witch hunting me. It's like, while I'm suffering, it's like, but keep on doing it, keep on doing it, because I need to go through that. In that way, my enemies, so to say, are my allies from the soul perspective. Now, this is where it becomes tricky, because many times we are not ready to hear that, and it's okay, and it makes sense. We're not ready to hear sometimes that the people that are causing us the biggest pain, and we feel they're not okay. They are wrong to do that. They are bad people. We're not ready many times to even entertain the idea that maybe they're doing some service to our soul, to our development. And that's totally okay if we don't have it, we don't have the capacity. But if we do have the capacity to hold that, then that changes everything. That changes everything. And my main question is like, how can we help people who do not have access to this? Can we at all help each other connect to that level of soul? So the personality, while suffering pain, will also say thank you, will also say, yes, please continue. Like you would say to your dentist, like, it's painful, please continue. I don't have the answers for that. I don't know. I wish I knew how to help people connect to this deeper part of themselves, to their soul, to the life of their soul. so they can actually feel this. Again, I will be happy to hear soon. I'll stop this part of our meeting and be open to hear from you. Stop the recording and be open to hear from you. But one big part of initiation has to do with being recognized by the tribe. When you go in initiation ceremony, yes, I spoke before about the elders. There are those who went through it. And there is the whole tribe. And the whole tribe is watching you and holding you in it. There's a tribe that holds you when you're breaking up. And maybe it takes a year for you to go through really difficult times. Maybe it takes more. And you're held in community. in it. And this is what we lost. And when I say community, I need to actually explain. When I say community, I don't relate to only human beings. Communities include all beings. It's your pets, the cats and the dogs. It's the birds and the tree in your garden. It's the land, it's the sea. In ancient times, we knew that all these are alive, aware, and you can talk to them, and they can talk back to you if you listen. Many years ago, I visited a friend of mine who lives in Switzerland. He lives in a house that was built by his grandfather that literally cut the wood in the forest and built the house, beautiful house. And this person is a kind of a shaman in Switzerland, a healer. And he told me that one of the things that he learned from his grandfather in the tradition is that they used to have when a couple is getting together, is getting married, they go and they find a tree in the forest and they make this tree their witness to their relationship. And they sit under this tree and they hug the tree and they connect to the tree. They do all kind of rituals connecting to the tree. And then whenever they have a crisis in their relationship, when they can't talk to each other, they go to the tree and they talk to the tree. And then they listen. Then they sit by the tree and lean back and listen. And that was a tradition in Switzerland. In Hebrew, again, it's so beautiful for those of you who speak Hebrew. I know some of us on the screen do, because in Hebrew, tree and advice are the same word, etz and etzah, because that's the meaning of it. And bush is the same word as discourse, siach, because bush is talking and tree can give you an advice. And this was the wisdom of our ancestors in all over the world. The tree, the fire, the water, the river, the birds, the snakes, they were all alive and talking to you. It's only a very, very, very new modern world that made everything empty. And then with this emptiness, we're living with the emptiness that people feel in modern time is the emptiness from connection. Not only connection to humans, but connection to the world. And then we're trying to fill it up with media, with television, with emotional eating, with money, with things that will never fill up this hole in the soul. And this is, again, part of the reasons I think that we have so much trauma today, because we are not held by community, not only of humans, but the sky, the clouds, the earth, the grass, the trees. We forgot that we can talk to them. They can talk back to us. That we forgot that we are held. We forgot that we're held by God. And God is not this guy in the sky. In Hebrew, one of the words for God is Elohim, which literally means all the powers of the world, all the powers of the universe together. That's the meaning of the word God in Hebrew. We are held by powers, and all those powers are one in some way, even though they're plural. And being connected to the God field is being held by this community. my late rabbi, Rabbi Zalman, that Nitzan here on the screen, she took me not so long ago to his grave. He's in Boulder. One of the things he told us is like people don't feel the connection to God. He said, and I asked them, did you charge the God field? Like when your phone is not working, it's a legit question to ask, did you charge it? Otherwise, it's just a piece of metal. But if you don't charge it, and it's like, so, but how did you charge the God field? Charging the God field is by ritual, is by prayer, is by devoting time, attention, and quality time to the field of the mystery. If you charge it with your attention, it will work. Promised. It worked for our ancestors for hundreds of thousands of years. We just forgot how to charge. Our modern life is not teaching us how to charge the God field, just how to charge our phone. So, yeah, I'm ending with this, my part of this conversation, with the suggestion and the offering of like, can we, and the question of like, can we take whatever horrible things that are happening to us and really difficult, and can we change our perspective, and actually can we connect to our soul, and from the perspective of our soul say like, what do you want? What's the initiation that I'm going through? And can we create a tribe that is holding each other? Can we hold each other? Can we, and in my understanding, this is a needing of a long-term tribe. Like it's totally different when you're held in a tribe of people who know you for years and decades, that hold you in different times of your life, and you know that you have them and they have you. Can we create that? In my understanding, this is so needed. And this is also the new humanity that I wish to be part of creating, is the humanity that remembers that to be a human, we need to be held. And when we're held by tribe, by community, by nature, by our soul, the difficulties that we go through are not creating only traumatic experiences, but actually creating or allowing us to move through initiations and to be initiated into our place in society, to be initiated into what our soul is here to do. So initiation is actually bringing more of our soul into our body. Trauma is losing parts of our soul because there is no container. The container that can hold it is the container of tribal rituals and love and community. Wise community. A community that knows how to hold its members even through hard times, and even when a member of the community is going and made a horrible mistake that they are paying for it. If they are learning from this, they become an asset for the community. Someone, I don't know where we heard it, not long ago, we heard from someone that some manager in Microsoft made a horrible mistake that cost $5 million. So, and he came to Bill Gates and said like, I'm so sorry. You're probably gonna fire me. And he said, are you crazy? I just invested $5 million in your education. So what if we relate to our friends who are actually making mistakes and learning from their mistakes as assets? It's like, now you're an asset. We don't throw away those who made mistakes, the criminals of society. We want them to learn, and we want us, the whole tribe, to learn from their learning. Okay, this is it for now. I want to say that in December, all this is like so much in cooking in me and in us and Katara and I, and that we created this workshop in December in Cyprus that's called Black Butterfly, that is basically going to hold each one in a process of going through um, initiation ceremonies and allowing what needs to drop and die and be mourned and grieved for, allowing the transformation, like the caterpillar is no longer a caterpillar when it becomes a butterfly, but it needs to go through the chrysalis. So we're going to work with that. I didn't mean to make this like a, come to our workshop, but come to our workshop. It's going to be amazing. And we're going to explore these topics in depth and work through them. Yeah, if you want more information, just write to me.